The chamber of the Galactic Council was silent, filled with hundreds of tall, strange-looking aliens from across the stars, each one watching a glowing hologram in the center of the room. It showed a map of human expansion, Earth, and its colonies. Stretching through several sectors, some aliens whispered to each other. Shaking their heads, others crossed their arms and stared coldly at the image. They didn't like what they saw. A tall, insect-like counselor from the Crix Dominion stood up. Her voice echoed through the chamber. "The human species grows too fast, too emotional, too dangerous," she said. "They build weapons quickly, question authority, and refuse to follow the Council's peaceful path." Another alien, this one from the ice world of Zarnith, nodded, "Yes. Their history is full of war," he said. "They do not belong in the central systems." The Earth ambassador, a middle-aged woman named Sora Lin, stood alone at the center of the hall. Her eyes were calm, but her voice shook with pain as she replied, "We have followed your rules, paid our dues, and shared our science," she said. "We only want peace and a future for our children, just like all of you." But no one answered her with kindness. The vote began. Lights flashed above each seat, green for yes, red for no. Counselors cast their votes silently. Some looked away from Sora as they did it. Only one alien, a bird-like counselor from the Yalari race, voted to support Earth. All the others voted against humanity. Sora lowered her head as the result was announced. 49-1 humans would be banned from expanding or trading within Council space. Effective immediately, all human colonies outside their assigned zones would lose access to fuel, food, medicine, and trade routes. Council ships would block cargo and punish smugglers. No appeals allowed. The chamber slowly emptied. No one said goodbye to Sora. Across human space, news of the decision spread quickly. On Mars, miners paused their drills, confused by the sudden halt in shipments on Europa. A human farming colony went dark as power grids shut down without Council support. On the frontier world of Ardentine, people stood in food lines longer than ever, hoping the rations would last. One mother, Alina, held her sick daughter in her arms and stared at the empty shelves of a medical outpost. They said the next shipment would arrive last week, she whispered, but nothing came. Doctors had no answers, only silence, only excuses. "We're waiting on clearance," they said. The Council stopped our access. Anger began to rise, but so did fear. People didn't understand. They had followed the Council's rules. For decades, they had signed every treaty, accepted every inspection. They had even helped in Council wars. So why now? Some said it was jealousy. Others believed it was fear. The aliens see we're getting stronger. An old man muttered in a crowded street on New Eden. "They want to stop us before we catch up to them." On Earth, the atmosphere was tense. The president of Earth United sat with her advisors, watching protest footage from around the world. People were already gathering near Council embassies. Some carried signs that read, "We are not a threat." Others shouted angrily, demanding justice. The president gave a speech, short and serious. "We have always wanted peace," she said, "but peace cannot exist where there is no respect. We will not beg, but we will not break either." The Galactic Council didn't respond. Not to her, not to anyone. In Secret Council reports once humans were never meant to see, some council members had written chilling words. One line said, "Humanity's spirit must be broken before they challenge us." Another said, "They are too unpredictable, too emotional. They could unite the galaxy one day." But not everyone agreed. The Yalari counselor, who had voted to protect Earth, sent a message to Sora Lin. It read, "I fear your people are being pushed to the edge, and I fear even more what they might do once they fall." Sora didn't reply. She simply walked out of the council chambers, removed her ambassador pin, and boarded a transport back to Earth. She sat alone, staring at the stars. wondering how many of them would soon go dark for humanity. On ardent Neen, Alina's daughter passed away that night. Her little body couldn't fight without the medicine that never came. The local doctor held her hand, whispering an old Earth lullaby as she closed her eyes. A nearby camera drone recorded the moment. Without permission, it streamed it across colony networks. Within hours, the video spread across human space. The child's name was Luma. Her face became a symbol. Her smile, frozen forever, lit fires and hearts all across the stars. People wept. Others screamed. Others picked up tools, or weapons, or whatever they could hold in their hands. Humanity did not rise with missiles or warships that night. It rose with grief, with rage, with purpose. The Council had made their decision. But they had forgotten one thing: humans don't stay broken for long, and somewhere on a cold moon far from Earth, a message was sent across encrypted channels. It said just 4 words: the Iron Accord begins. In the small human colony of Arden 9, the air felt heavier each day. The sun still rose, and the winds still moved through the dry trees. But the people were changing. Their faces looked tired. Their eyes filled with silent anger, and their voices had become quiet whispers of worry. The Council had cut off all shipments: no food, no water purifiers, no medicine. The supply depot that once welcomed ships from other planets now stood locked and empty, guarded by 2 drones and 1 tired officer with nothing to offer. Dr. Elise Marlowe worked at the only medical center left running. It was small, barely enough space for 20 people, but now it was packed with the sick and dying. Children with fevers, elderly men coughing blood, women begging for painkillers. Elise moved between the beds like a machine. But inside, her heart was breaking. She had no antibiotics left, just salt water and old patches for wounds. Every time she lost a patient, she would step into the small storage room, close the door, and cry silently. Then she would wipe her face and go back out with a brave smile. Pretending to be strong, one morning, a young man ran into the clinic. His name was Rian, and he held his little brother in his arms. The boy had a deep cut on his leg, already turning green. "Please," Rian cried. He fell into the field. Something bit him. I didn't know what else to do. Elise rushed to them, placed the boy on a bed, and cleaned the wound, but her face turned pale. It was infection, serious and fast. She needed a special serum normally easy to get from the central pharmacy, but now that pharmacy was just another locked door. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "We don't have what he needs." Rian's voice cracked. "He's just a kid. No," Elise said, touching the boy's forehead gently. "And I hate this more than you know." Later that day, people gathered near the spaceport where a cargo ship had finally arrived from an allied neutral world. The ship's captain, a gray-haired human named Bellin, had risked everything to bring emergency supplies. "Open the gates," he shouted to the port control. "I've got food and medicine for the people." But the port security system denied him landing rights. A council order was hard-coded into the system: no ships allowed to trade with humans under punishment of death. Drones flew out to block the ship, and one fired a warning shot that grazed the ship's left wing. Bellin called for help. "These people are dying. I'm not turning back." Within minutes, a council enforcer ship appeared. 4 alien soldiers boarded Bellin's vessel, dragged him out in front of the crowd, and accused him of violating interstellar law. They didn't let him speak. They didn't care. Bellin was executed right there on the platform. His last words were, "Tell Earth I tried." Someone recorded it. Someone always does. The video went viral within hours, streamed across every human system. Even the weak signals that made it past the council blocks carried the shocking scene. People who had once begged for help now stood still and quiet, looking at the screen, watching a good man die for trying to save them. Mothers covered their children's eyes, but it was too late. The truth had already reached them. On Mars, angry miners threw down their tools and smashed council property. On Europa, peaceful protesters stormed a local council office, chanting, "No more silence, no more fear." In space, several human cargo ships went dark, turning off their transponders and slipping into hiding. A father named Merrick, whose wife had died the week before due to lack of medicine, stood in front of a camera. His face was rough, his hands shaking as he held a photo of his 2 daughters. "You left us to die," he said to the lens. "We worked. We followed your rules. We trusted you, and you left us to die." The video spread even faster than the execution clip. It was raw, real, and filled with truth. People connected with it because they had all felt that pain, that betrayal. On Earth, soldiers began whispering to each other in underground chat groups, "We trained to protect life." One message read, "But who protects us now?" Elise received a small package that night smuggled through an old mining tunnel from a rebel medic on another colony. Inside was a single vial of anti-infection serum and a note. "Use this well, it may be our last." She ran to Rion's brother and injected the serum into his leg. Then she waited, holding her breath through the long night. In the morning, the fever broke. The boy lived. She smiled, but it was a sad smile. She had saved one, but lost dozens before him. And she knew more were coming. Outside, people gathered at the burned landing pad where Balan had died. They brought candles, photos, and notes. Someone placed a sign that read, "He fed us when they didn't," in the shadows. Strangers met and shared plans not for protest, but for something stronger. They had no weapons, not yet, but they had each other. And they had one thing the council could never control: rage born of grief. Love turned to fire, and a heart that refused to surrender. Humanity was waking up, not as victims, but as a force, and far away. On a quiet relay station near the Kuros Belt, a group of former Earth military veterans received a coded signal. The message was short, but it said everything. It has begun. Across every human colony, people were angry. They had been quiet at first, hoping the council would change its mind, hoping the ban would be lifted. But after seeing the doctor's tears, the father's video, and the death of Captain Bellin, something broke inside them. It wasn't fear anymore. It was rage. On Mars, thousands gathered outside the council's planetary embassy. It was a tall silver tower with glowing walls, guarded by alien soldiers and flying drones. The protest started with quiet chants, people holding signs that read, "We want justice, and we are not dangerous," but the crowd kept growing. Families came with children. Elderly people sat on crates. Young men and women held hands. There was no violence, just sadness and unity. Until the guards stepped forward, an alien commander gave the order. Drones flew low. And then came a sharp sound. Non-lethal blast rounds shot into the crowd. People screamed and ran. Some fell to the ground, injured. The peaceful protest had turned into chaos in just seconds. One of the drones hit a little girl holding a small teddy bear. She was walking beside her mother when the blast threw her into a wall. The mother screamed, clutching her child's body, begging for help. Blood ran down her daughter's face. The teddy bear rolled into the street. Someone recorded the moment. A teenager hiding behind a broken stall captured the entire scene on a handheld camera. The footage was raw and shaky, but it showed the truth. No weapons, no attack from the crowd, just a child, a bear, and a mother's scream. The video spread like fire within an hour. Every human system was watching it. News stations called it the spark. Online channels looped it non-stop, adding subtitles, messages of grief, and soundtracks that made viewers cry. Back on Arden 9, Rian watched the video with his brother, who had just recovered from his infection. Rian clenched his fists. "How many more?" he asked. "How many kids have to die before we fight back?" In the underground channels where smugglers, ex-soldiers, and hackers met, people began to organize, not just to speak, but to act. One message was sent out across all human networks. We begged. We mourned. Now we rise in space. Several human cargo ships suddenly vanished from radar. Their signals went silent. Everyone assumed they had been captured or destroyed by Council patrols. But that was only half the story. These ships had turned off their beacons on purpose. Hiding in asteroid fields, dark nebulae, and icy rings. Inside, humans were gathering supplies, upgrading old weapons, and planning something far bigger than a protest on Earth. A quiet meeting took place deep under the Old World Assembly building. Leaders, scientists, ex-military commanders, and even rebels sat together around a large table. They didn't wear suits or uniforms, just simple clothes, showing they were. One of the people, a former general named Halston, stood and spoke. "We were told to trust the Council," he said. "We believed they wanted peace, but all they wanted was control." He pointed to the video of the girl and her mother, frozen. "On a screen, they crossed a line," he said, "and now we cross back." A plan was formed, not for war, but for preparation. Humans began building what they called the Iron Accord, a secret alliance of colonies, ships, stations, and people willing to resist the Council's rule. Elise, the doctor from Arden 9, joined as a medical advisor. Rian signed up for cargo missions. Others volunteered their skills: pilots, engineers, translators, farmers, even students. They didn't all agree on politics or history or religion, but they all agreed on one thing: no more children should die. Not like this, not forgotten. On the moon base of Caldera 3, a young hacker named Zay secretly broke into the Council's internal communication system. She found files marked classified human control measures. What she read made her sick. Plans to slowly reduce food rations to human colonies. Plans to monitor and punish human leaders who spoke too freely. Plans to allow controlled disappearances for anyone who resisted. Zay leaked the documents online under a new code name, Ghost of Luma, named after the little girl with the teddy bear. The Council tried to deny it, tried to say the files were fake, but it was too late. The people believed what they had already seen with their eyes. More protests began across the stars. But this time, many people were armed. Old rifles, mining tools, even modified farming equipment. Humans didn't want war, but they were ready if it came. In the dark corners of the galaxy, where rogue traders flew and old stations floated abandoned, the first Iron Accord base was activated. It had no name, no flag, only a promise: protect. Our people fight for the lost and never kneel again. Aliens who had once been friends of Earth began to speak out. Some sent secret support, risking their place on the Council. Others warned. They don't understand what's coming. They think humans will break, but they don't know what humans become when pushed too far. On Arden 9, Elise looked up at the sky, tired but no longer helpless. Rian stood beside her, wearing a patch jacket with the Iron Accord symbol, a simple human hand. Reaching forward, surrounded by stars, "We were never the enemy," Rian said quietly. "No," Elise answered. "But now they'll know what enemies we can become." The galaxy didn't know it yet, but the fire had already started, and it wasn't going out. Far from Earth, on a cold and forgotten moon called Talon 6, an old underground base came alive again. The lights flickered on, dust floated in the air, and the giant metal doors opened with a deep growl. Inside, people gathered, men and women, from different colonies, different lives, all with one purpose. They were soldiers, doctors, hackers, pilots, even farmers. Most of them had no rank, no uniform, but they had something stronger: a reason to fight. They called themselves the Iron Accord, and Talon 6 became their hidden command post. At the center of the base stood Commander Halston, the retired general who had once led Earth's planetary forces. Now he wore simple armor and carried a datapad. Full of names people willing to risk everything, his voice was firm but calm. "This isn't war," he said. "Not yet. But it's preparation, and preparation saves lives." One of the first missions was already on the table. A human cargo ship called the Lancer had been captured by the Council's enforcer fleet near the burnt expanse. Its crew of 7 had been taken prisoner, and the ship was being held in orbit above a mining world. The Council said they were smugglers, but the truth was clear: they were carrying medical aid. Halston turned to the volunteers. "We bring them home." Zay, the young hacker who had leaked the Council files, smiled from behind her screen. "I can shut down their drone defenses for 20 minutes. She said. "After that, we're blind." Elise, the doctor, stepped forward. "I can help the wounded. If any of the crew is still alive." Rian was there too, wearing new gear and holding a blaster for the first time. He didn't feel like a soldier, but he didn't feel like a helpless civilian anymore either. "I'm going," he said. "There are people." The rescue team left Talon 6 aboard a small stealth ship called the Wraith. It was fast, silent, and built from old Earth tech mixed with stolen alien parts. As it entered the burnt expanse, a dark part of space filled with red gas clouds and floating rock fields. The crew grew quiet. No one spoke of fear, but it was there in their eyes, in the way they moved. But beneath that fear was something stronger: purpose. Zay guided the ship close to the Council station orbiting the mining world. "Drones are down," she said, sweat dripping from her forehead. "You have 19 minutes now." The team launched and dropped pods metal shells that flew straight down to the station like falling stars. They crashed into the docking bay with loud bangs. Can doors flew open as humans rushed out with weapons ready. Council guards, tall, armored aliens, responded fast. But they were not ready for humans fighting with fury. Rian fired his blaster, covering Elise as she ran to find the captured crew. A laser shot grazed his shoulder, but he kept going. Inside the cell block, Elise found the crew tired, bruised, but alive. "Can you move?" she asked quickly. One woman stood up, holding her side. "If you get us out, I'll crawl if I have to." Back in the control room, Zay hacked into the Council systems again. 10 minutes, she warned through the comms. "You need to be in the air in 10 minutes. The team fought their way back, carrying wounded crew and covering each other with quick moves. 2 Council soldiers tried to block their exit, but Elise, shaking but focused, threw a stun grenade she had never used before. It worked. The path was clear. The Wraith picked them up just as the drone systems rebooted. Red warning lights flashed everywhere, but it was too late for the Council. The humans were already flying into the dark, heading home. When they landed back on Talon 6, cheers filled the hangar. People hugged, cried, and shouted the names of those who had been rescued. Rian sat down against a wall, breathing hard, his injured shoulder burning, but he was smiling. Commander Halston watched silently for a while, then turned to the group. "Today, we sent a message," he said. "We don't abandon our own." The rescued captain, a woman with short gray hair and tired eyes, stepped forward. "You risked everything for us," she said. "Why?" Rian answered before anyone else could. "Because the Council wouldn't, and we're not like them." The success of the mission spread fast, even though the accord was secret. Word leaked through hidden channels. Other humans, scattered across distant colonies, heard the news and began reaching out. Some offered supplies, others offered ships. Some just sent messages. "We want to help," but the biggest message came from the Council itself. The next day, a broadcast was sent across human space. A cold alien face filled the screen. Council Elder Vrinax. His voice was slow and emotionless. "Any human aiding the Iron Accord will be punished." He said, "Any ship, Any person, any system, no exceptions. Halston turned off the screen. They're afraid, he said simply. Elise nodded. Good, they should be. And deep inside Talon 6. Zay opened a private message she had received from a non-human source. It said only one sentence. There are others who believe in your. 'Cause you are not alone. The galaxy had been silent too long. But now the humans were moving, and the stars were beginning to listen. The world watched in silence as Earth made its decision. After months of begging, waiting, and dying in the cold shadow of the Council's control, the leaders of Earth United finally stood together. They faced the cameras, not with fear, but with fire in their eyes. The president, an older woman named Amara Lean, stood before a large metal podium on Earth's surface. Millions watched her across space on colony walls, inside mining ships, and through old scratched screens in forgotten outposts. Her voice was steady as she said, "We, the people of Earth and all its colonies, no longer recognize the authority of the Galactic Council over human life." The silence that followed her words was loud. It felt like the entire galaxy had stopped. Breathing, Amara raised her hand and continued. "We believed in peace. We helped build this council. We followed every law they gave, even the ones that hurt us," she said. "And how did they repay us? With silence, with betrayal, with the blood of our children." Her last words echoed, her voice shaking now. "We are not your cattle. We are not your broken slaves. We are human and we will stand." The transmission ended, but the message had already spread in Council-controlled territories. Some alien leaders were shocked. Others whispered to each other in private rooms. What happens if the humans fight back? They asked, what if they're not bluffing? On planets like New Eden, Earth's announcement brought tears. People lit candles, hugged their neighbors, and raised human flags above their homes. On Mars, workers paused in the middle of their shift and looked up at the sky. One whispered, "We're free, maybe for the first time." But freedom had a price. The Council responded quickly. They sent warships near Earth's space, but didn't fire. Instead, they broadcasted another cold message from Elder Vranax. "This is your final warning," he said. "Return to Council law or suffer full embargo and removal from protected systems." Earth didn't answer, but their silence was louder than words. The Iron Accord worked faster now. In the hidden base on Talon 6, Commander Halston watched the skies carefully. "We've crossed the line now," he told the others. "There's no going back." More humans joined their side. Not just fighters, but builders, thinkers, and teachers. A group of ex-students from Saturn's rings offered to help rebuild communication satellites that the Council had jammed. A farmer from the Outer Rim sent thousands of protein bricks he'd stored for years. "Let the children eat," he said simply. Even neutral planets began to whisper support. A tiny moon named Glantry, run by traders from multiple species, quietly reopened trade routes to human ships. One Glantrian captain said, "I don't care about Council threats. I care about feeding people." Meanwhile, something strange happened across the alien systems. A Yilari journalist, one of the bird-like aliens, published a long report that shook the stars. She revealed secret records that showed the Council had been planning to reduce human influence for decades. Not because of violence, but because humans inspired others. They brought ideas of freedom, change, rebellion. Her article ended with one question: what are they so afraid of? The Council quickly labeled her a traitor, but the damage was done. Other aliens started asking questions too. Some quietly reached out to human leaders with offers: fuel, food, information, and shelter. Even inside the Council itself, cracks appeared. A few members requested emergency talks to stop things from going too far. But the elders refused. They wanted control, and they thought fear would be enough. They were wrong. Elise, the doctor from Ardenine, now worked full-time with the Iron Accord. She helped build underground clinics on hidden moons. In one, she met an alien child whose parents had been killed for helping a human ship. Elise hugged the child and whispered, "You're safe now, say." The hacker created a secure network called the Chain. It connected rebels, medics, smugglers, and even alien sympathizers with one signal. Help could be sent from any part of the galaxy. Rian, once just a brother trying to save his sibling, had become a symbol after surviving the rescue mission in Part 4. He now trained others in fast tactics, how to fight without being seen, how to disappear in plain sight, how to strike like lightning and vanish like mist. One night, a small group of Iron Accord agents snuck onto a council-controlled spaceport and painted something on the walls. Not graffiti, not words, just one symbol. A small human hand. Reaching upward, surrounded by stars, it was found in over 20 places. The next day, the council tried to cover it up, but they couldn't stop the spread. The people remembered the symbol, and they began to believe. For too long, humans had been called unstable, emotional, chaotic. But now those same feelings, love, grief, rage, were giving them strength, and the galaxy was watching. The council thought humans would break. Instead, they were building something new. Something stronger and deep inside Talon 6. Commander Halston looked over a star map filled with light siege, a message, a promise, a colony rising. "We're not alone anymore," he whispered to himself. "They wanted to divide us, but they only made us one." And the fire of human spirit continued to grow, not through weapons alone, but through courage, through truth, through something the council could never understand: hope, born from pain, and unity, born from injustice. The mining colony of Vorn 12 was known for being quiet and peaceful. It had humans and aliens living together for many years. Families worked in harmony. Children played in open domes. And no one thought much about politics. They just wanted to live and survive in the deep space rocks that gave the galaxy its rare minerals. But after Earth's declaration of independence from the Galactic Council, everything changed. One morning, the skies above Vorn 12 turned dark, not from weather, but from shadows. Huge council warships arrived without warning. Their lights flashed across the colony buildings, their weapons aimed down at the surface. No message, no chance to run. The people of Vorn 12 rushed outside in confusion. Some thought it was a drill. Others believed maybe pirates had come. But then the first blast hit a powerful beam of light that tore through the center square. Killing dozens in seconds, screams filled the air. Mothers grabbed their children and ran. Fathers tried to shield their families with their bodies. The colony's defense system tried to activate, but it was no match. The council had disabled it before even arriving. Within an hour, half the colony was burning. One alien father tried to contact the council ship. "There are civilians down here." "Acha!" he shouted into the communicator. "This is a peaceful colony." The reply was cold and cruel. "You housed humans," the voice said. "This is the consequence." The death toll reached over 200,000 humans. Aliens, children, elders, all crushed by the council's brutal warning. They called it a targeted strike, claiming it was a rebel base. But the truth was clear. It was a massacre, but the council made one mistake. The entire attack was caught on satellite footage. A maintenance drone in orbit had been recording the colony's weather systems, and it saw everything: the explosions, the screams, the people running, the innocent lives erased. Zay, the hacker with the Iron Accord, received the video from a resistance ally. She watched it in silence, her hands trembling. Then she sent it out to every human and alien news system. Every ship, station, and colony received the same message: Vorn 12 has fallen. This is what the council calls peace. The reaction was instant. People were shocked. Then they were furious. Even some alien worlds that had supported the council began to question its actions. Was this necessary? They asked, "Is this the justice the Council speaks of?" Across human systems, there was only one feeling pure rage. In the hidden base on Talon 6, the Iron Accord gathered around a large screen. Watching the footage of Vorn 12 again and again, some cried. Others stood silently, gripping their weapons. Elise couldn't look away. She saw the bodies of children lying in the rubble, and her heart broke all over again. Commander Halston stepped forward. "We knew this could happen," he said, "but they've gone too far." Rian stood up, his jaw tight. "They're not scared of us. They're scared of what we represent: freedom, truth, and unity." A message arrived during the meeting. It was from an old Earth warship, hidden for years in a gas cloud. The captain had once left the army. Tired of war, but now he wanted back in. "I saw what they did to Vorn." His message said, "My ship is yours." But that wasn't all. Over 100 human ships, cargo vessels, science crafts, even broken warships sent the same message. They turned off their official signals, went dark, and vanished from all systems. No one knew where they were going. The Council believed these ships had been destroyed or lost in space. They didn't know the truth. The Iron Accord had a plan. The ships weren't gone. They were hiding, preparing, waiting in a secret asteroid field far from any known system. These ships were being repaired and armed. Weapons were loaded. Engines upgraded, armor reforged. It was the birth of something new, the Iron Fleet. Zay helped them create a secure channel only used by trusted members of the Accord. Messages were passed with code words and hidden signals. One of them said, "For Vorn." We answer. Meanwhile, the survivors of Vorn 12 were rescued and brought to safe worlds. Elise met some of them in a refugee camp. A small girl named Anna, no older than 6, sat in silence, holding a broken necklace she had pulled from the ruins. Elise knelt beside her and asked, "Who did that belong to?" Anna whispered, "My mom." Elise hugged her tightly, promising with tears in her eyes. They will pay. More people joined the Accord after the Vorn attack. Not just humans, but aliens who had stayed silent for too long. A group of traders from the Euron species sent ships full of food and supplies. "We may not fight," they said, "but we will feed your people." Even some council officers secretly passed information to the Accord. One of them sent blueprints of a council base near the capital world, the Lanakar. It had weak points, and now the humans knew where to hit. Commander Halston stood before the new map, stars glowing around him. "They think we're hiding." He said, "But we're aiming, and when we strike, they will never forget." The death of Vorn 12 had shaken the galaxy. But instead of breaking humanity, it had done the opposite. It had forged them, united them like never before, and somewhere, deep in space, the Iron Fleet began to move, slow and silent like a storm ready to hit. The galaxy didn't know it yet, but the Age of Fear was ending, and the Age of Fire had begun. The stars above the Lanakar, the Council's capital world, were calm. The city below was full of light tall towers, made of crystal, flying transport pods, and beautiful green gardens built on floating platforms. To the Council, this place was untouchable. Safe and full of pride, they believed no one could ever reach them here. Not humans, not rebels, no one. They were wrong. One by one, over 100 human ships that had gone dark after the Vorn 12 massacre reappeared on scanners. They came out of deep space. Out of gas clouds, out of hiding. No one knew how they got past the patrol lines, but there they were, forming a silent wall of metal above the Lanakar. The Council sent urgent messages to their fleets. "Protect the capital," they ordered. "Eliminate all intruders," but it was already too late. The human Iron Fleet had already moved in position. Each ship had one purpose: to show the Council that humanity would no longer kneel. These weren't just warships. Some were old mining vessels turned into weapons. Others were cargo ships reprogrammed for battle. Some still had paint marks from their old jobs, reminders that these were not soldiers, but people who had been pushed too far. On board the lead ship, the Resolute Dawn, Commander Halston stood with his crew. His voice was calm. "We don't destroy civilians," he said. "We hit the war machines." The command posts, the satellite controls, Zay, sitting at the computer panel, nodded. "I've locked out their orbital defense codes. They can't target us for the next 30 minutes. Rian loaded his weapon and looked at the screen showing Thalanakar's surface. He didn't smile. His heart was heavy, but he knew what had to be done. "We lost 200,000 at Vorn," he said. "This is for them." The human ships moved as one. Their engines hummed like thunder, and their lights cut through the dark like fire. Within minutes, they blasted through the outer ring of the Council's defense platforms. The sky filled with smoke and sparks. Council fighters launched from the surface, fast and advanced, but they were confused. They had never seen humans this organized, this fierce. The Iron Fleet wasn't fighting like a normal army. They were fighting like people who had nothing left to lose. Down on the planet, Council members rushed to safety chambers. Alarms ringing in every hall. Elder Vranak shouted orders. "Destroy them all," he cried. "Show them we are still in control." But control was gone in the middle of the chaos. A small stealth shuttle broke through the smoke and entered the atmosphere. It carried a small human strike team led by Rion himself. Alongside him were 2 soldiers, a medic and a translator. Their mission wasn't to attack the city. Their mission was to reach the council chamber. They landed near the edge of the capital. Using shadows and back tunnels to move through the city, most of the guards were busy fighting in the skies. No one expected humans on the ground. Inside the great council building, everything was made of white stone and glowing glass. It was silent now. Empty of speeches and pride, the chambers were locked, but the humans had brought something else. They didn't carry bombs. They carried bodies wrapped in cloth. Marked with names and blood, they dragged in the small forms of children who had died at Vorn. The remains had been gathered from the ruins, brought all the way through space. Not as a weapon, but as a truth no one could ignore. When the council elders saw the humans standing in their chamber, holding the dead children, they froze. Some backed away in fear. Others stared with wide eyes. Rion stepped forward and placed one of the small bundles on the floor in front of them. "This is Luma," he said. "She was 5 years old. She died holding a teddy bear when your drones attacked Mars." He laid down another. "This is Arax," he said. "His mother was Zarnethi, his father was human. Your bombs didn't care." They called him rebel scum. He stood tall, breathing hard. "You call us dangerous," he said. "You say we're too emotional, too wild. But we are not the ones who killed children to keep power." The room was quiet. The elders said nothing. Some looked away, unable to meet his eyes. Commander Halston's voice came through the coms in Rion's ear. "The sky is ours," he said. "They've stopped firing." Zay hacked the Council's main broadcast network and sent the chamber's live video feed across the stars. Every planet, every colony, every species could now see the truth. Not edited news, not twisted words, just grief. And the humans standing in a place no one thought they could reach. Elise, watching from a refugee camp on a far-off moon, cried when she saw Luma's name. Anna, the little survivor beside her, held Elise's hand tightly. He didn't forget her. Anna whispered. He remembered, and that meant everything, back in the council chamber. Rion took one step closer and looked directly at the elders. "This is not a war for land," he said. "It's a war for respect, for justice, for the right to exist. You had the chance to make peace, and you threw it away." Then he dropped the final cloth to the floor, the sound echoing through the chamber like thunder. "This is your peace," he said. The strike team left in silence, leaving behind nothing but the truth. They returned to the resolute dawn, and the human ships slowly pulled back. They had made their point, and they had made history. That day was remembered as the Day of Shadows, not for the attack, but for what was left behind. Not fear, but a message the galaxy could never erase. The galaxy did not sleep after the Day of Shadows for the first time in history. The council was silent. No new laws, no threats, no speeches. They had been shaken to their core. The human ships had come and gone like ghosts, but they left behind something the council could not destroy: truth across thousands of planets. People replayed the video of the council chamber. They saw the human team, the small wrapped bodies, a calm voice that spoke not of hate but of sorrow and justice. Some cried, some grew angry, and some stood up and said, "Enough." The council was no longer feared. Half of its members resigned in the weeks that followed. Some said they had not known about the attack on Vorn 12. Others claimed they had only been following orders. But the galaxy didn't care about excuses anymore. The Yllari journalist who had supported humanity released another report. This time, it was a message of hope. "They did not come to conquer," she wrote. "They came to be heard, and now we are listening on the council world of Thelenikar." The tall towers still stood. But their power was broken. Many alien leaders left the planet, afraid of what would happen next. The people, humans and aliens alike, had seen what humans could do when pushed too far. They had seen not cruelty, but strength, pain, and unshakable heart. Earth was now no longer alone. A new coalition was being formed. This time, it was not led by fear or control, but by trust and cooperation. Human leaders invited planets big and small to join, not under rule but as equals. The first to answer the call were the Yllari, followed by the Glantry traders. Then came smaller groups from species who had suffered under the Council's laws for years. They saw the humans not as monsters but as a mirror. They understood what it felt like to be called dangerous just for asking to live freely. They called it the New Balance, and it began not with weapons but with words at the first. Meeting held on a neutral moon, leaders of 19 worlds gathered to speak openly for the first time. Commander Halston stood at the front, no longer wearing armor. Just a simple coat. His voice was quiet, but it reached every corner of the hall. "We were told that emotion was weakness," he said, "that passion would destroy us, that our fire made us unfit to lead, but it was that same fire that kept us alive, that made us fight, not for power but for each other." Elise was there too, representing the healers who had saved so many lives during the crisis. She told the story of Anna, the little girl from Vorn 12 who had watched her world burn. "She never gave up," Elise said, "and neither did we." Zay, the hacker, was now head of communications. She created a secure system for the New Balance to share information and protect its members. She smiled shyly as her name was called, and everyone stood to applaud the girl who had once been just a voice in the shadows. Rion didn't attend the ceremony. He had returned to Ardenine, back to the colony where it all began. He helped rebuild schools, hospitals, and farms. He worked quietly, never asking for praise. But the people there never forgot what he had done. One evening, a group of children ran up to him while he fixed a solar panel. "Are you the one who went to the council world?" a boy asked. Rion smiled, wiping his hands on his shirt. "I guess so." The children handed him a picture, drawn with bright color ships, stars, and a hand reaching up to the sky. "This is for you," the girl said. "You made us safe." He took the drawing and looked at it for a long time. "No," he said softly. "We all did, back on Earth." Things began to change. People smiled more. Schools taught the true history of the Iron Accord and what happened to Vorn 12. Not to spread hate, but to remind everyone what must never happen again. Statues were built, not of generals or war heroes, but of Luma, the little girl who had died holding a teddy bear. She became a symbol of everything that had been lost, and everything that had been fought for. On her statue, 3 simple words were written, never forgotten. Ever human, trade opened once again, freely and fairly. Human ships flew side by side with alien vessels, not watched by council guards. But guided by shared trust, the old fear was fading, replaced with something new: respect. The council still existed, but it no longer ruled. It now served as one voice among many. And its leaders were no longer feared gods in high towers, but ordinary beings with equal votes. A new star map was drawn, one where Earth and its colonies were no longer marked as dangerous zones, but as partners, friends, and leaders of peace. The human spirit had not only survived, had changed the galaxy, and somewhere, on a quiet farming world with twin suns, a small human boy walked freely with a Yalari girl, laughing as they chased a rolling ball through the tall grass. Neither of them knew about politics or war, but their friendship was the future the Iron Accord had fought for. Above them, the stars shined bright, not as symbols of war, but as a reminder that even in the darkest night, humanity's light can rise and burn through everything.